if you're like me, you may have been in a friend's wedding and had to buy and wear a bridesmaid's dress. Now, what do you do with them after? I've had this one for years and you just feel funny just wearing it again. I know friends of mine, they have a closet filled with bridesmaid's dresses. I'm lucky enough to just have one, but I'm still gonna transform this into a fun, flirty, short romper for the summer. So I have mine in front of me. You're just going to need a rotary cutter, a ruler, some pins, some scissors, and some basic sewing supplies, a serger, a sewing machine, and we're gonna actually chop it right in half. I know this might be scary. I know they're expensive, but it'll be so worth it in the end when you can actually wear this garment again. So I'm going to measure and slice it in half to transform the bottom into shorts. So I better get cutting. Have your dress with the zipper facing up towards you on the table. Mine is located in the center back. Now locate the bottom of the zipper and you can just use a pin as a marker if you want. Measure from the waistline down of the dress to the bottom of the zipper and replicate that same measurement on either side of the dress. So in my case, the side seams. Now grab that rotary cutter or scissors and cut the dress just below the pin marks using a ruler. Now remember, you can only do this step really once. Remove your pins and using a stitch ripper, we're going to stitch rip the entire zipper from the waistline down. Stitch rip it from all of the layers and really be careful not to make a small hole in your fabric. I had to get comfy. Sometimes stitch ripping can be a tedious process, but couches and bunnies make it better. Want another treat? Why don't you stitch rip the zipper for me? Hurry! Hurry! Ow! All right, zipper stitch ripped. Back to the studio. Now the zipper is nicely detached from the dress. So we're going to trim the outer chiffon layer to be about, let's say 3.5 inches long, or however long you want your desired peplum width to be, leaving about 1 inch of allowance to hem off. You can just use a small ruler and chalk. Then you'll want to trim off the inner layer to just be 1 inch long. And now we're gonna finish that bottom edge with the outer chiffon with a rolled hem. So we're done with the top corset pattern for now, and you can go ahead and grab those scrap pieces of the maxi dress that we cut off in the first step. So we're gonna use these to actually cut out a shorts pattern. And I'm using the So New short and sweet pattern. And since you have limited yardage of that skirt length, I suggest doing a test sew of the fit and the rise. So I've added 3 inches to the top and 1 inch to the bottom to get that extra length, both in the waist and the hemline. Pass me my shorts, honey. Use a fabric that you can wear again. So hello, pajama shorts, and these fit great. So I'm confident in cutting my pattern in my bridesmaid's dress fabric. Thanks, Julian. I think he wants to wear them now. So you're gonna cut 2 of the chiffon outer layer in a size larger than the lining fabric. So for me, I have a medium for the lining and a large for the outer because they'll be layered on top of each other. But I'll lay it out for you here and I'll show you the exact pattern modifications that you can do, and we'll cut them out and get sewing them to attach them to our corset. So get those scissors and pins and cut out your shorts. Lay the smaller size shorts paper pattern pieces on your lining and cut out 2. Then from the waistline, actually raise it up to your natural waistline or where it's a comfortable crotch length and not too short on your torso. So we're gonna make it a bit longer above the waistline. Then you're gonna want to just actually decide on your desired hemline. Cut out your shorts using a rotary cutter or scissors. You're also gonna wanna cut 2 of the front pattern piece from that same lining fabric. Make sure you add that same amount to the waistline and cut out. We have our lining pieces now, so grab the size larger paper pattern shorts and your chiffon. Lay out the larger size shorts pattern on your chiffon outer layer and cut 2 of each. That raised waistline measurement that we did for the lining, make sure you add that to your outer shorts as well, or else things will get funny with that crotch seam. And then for that hemline, we're gonna lengthen it a bit so we get that multi-layer effect. So cut those out. Now you need to sew each pair of shorts separately, leaving the center back seam open so we can apply the zipper later. So when you're sewing the crotch curves, sew and backstitch till about the end of that crotch curve. So don't sew it in that full U. Sew it like a J, I guess. So yeah, just leave that opening. So I have both of my shorts sewn. I have my outer chiffon shorts and my inner lining shorts. And now we're gonna put them into each other and ease in the top edges. So I did go ahead and after I stitched them together, I sewed 2 rows of basting stitches because these shorts are wider than this corset seam right here because we have gathers in the top of here, so the lining underneath doesn't have any gathers, and so we need to gather these in to fit that, because if we made these that snug, it wouldn't have that kind of flowy feel. So I'm just going to sit here and do a little gathering, and I'm just gonna think about and talk about all the memories that I remember the day that I wore this dress. It was quite a while ago. It was, when was it? I think it was November of, do you remember, Julian, when
I remember
her wedding was?
Spring, fall.
It was definitely fall because it was cold. Oh my gosh. Taking wedding photos is crazy. I remember freezing in this strapless dress. It was snowing that day, but you just got to brave a smile for the pictures. So I remember just freezing. We can see it on your face that you're very, very cold. And I had to, so once I have them both gathered in a bit, I'm going to put them inside one another, and then we're gonna stitch it to that allowance. So insert your lining shorts into your outer chiffon shorts, matching up the center fronts, the side seams, and those center back openings. Then we're gonna slightly gather both of the layers together, and also go ahead and finish the hems in the same way that you did to the top peplum piece for both the lining and the outer chiffon piece. Open up that zipper, making sure your zipper fold doesn't fly off the end. So you can just use a pin or just do a little back and forth stitching to hold it in place. Pin your shorts starting at the back, right sides together. And match up those side seams as well from your top to the bottom and pin. Here you can either loosen up or tighten those gathers so they actually match with the corresponding edge. And now we're gonna stitch these all together from the center back all the way along to the other center back. Stitch all 3 of those layers together, making sure that everything is lying flat so all of those side edges are aligning. You can also choose to sew over the pins very, very carefully or take them out. For me, gathering, if the pins are perpendicular to the seam, I just try and leave them in. So now I'm gonna go ahead and serge all of my allowances together. Pin and sew the invisible zipper to the back opening through all of those layers, including that little peplum. Just make sure you install your zipper foot on your sewing machine. And so the zipper should actually end just above where you stopped stitching the back crotch curve. After stitching all the way down the one side of the zipper, just start from the other side and then stitch back up. Stitch really nice and close to those zipper teeth, remember? And now we're going to need to close that opening from the bottom of the zipper to where you stopped stitching along that back crotch seam. Keep your zipper foot installed on your machine to get nice and close to the ending of the zipper seam. So we have our zipper installed in place, and you can just hand sew whatever has been lifted on the inside. Just hand sew that down to the zipper. And we have the bottom part all sewed up. What you can do is open the leg and then sew any gaps from this angle, and then you can pull that down. And from the inside, looks like I need to trim that thread. Any gaps here. So the zipper sew to both layers and then stitch down as far as you can, and then stitch the remaining to close the gap and have a nice smooth line extenuating from the zipper. So now it is all done. This little ruffle hides that seam right underneath, and you can wear a belt over top. And what I did is actually, my bridesmaid's dress came with straps. So I'm gonna add a ruffle to the strap and then sew it on to my dress. So I went ahead and cut a 2-inch wide ruffle, finished the edge, and did some gathering stitches. And then you can gather it and stitch it to the strap. So just pulling the bobbin threads of the ruffle, just slightly gather in that edge. Center it on your strap piece and make sure all of those gathers are evenly distributed. Pin. Folding each end in at the start and the end of the ruffle, we're gonna stitch down the center of the strap, getting that ruffle nice and secure. After stitching, trim the ruffle allowance and then flip the ruffle to the other side and just give it a light press and stitch it to the dress. So now you can even try on your new romper before you sew on your straps to determine the strap location. I mean, some bridesmaids dresses even come with little loops and even hooks too, so they can become removable, but you can just hand sew it in place. You can use your machine, but I always like to try it on so you know the tightness and the location. But really don't stitch them too tight because you can wear them off the shoulder for a different look. So I love this romper because I can be out and about with this look without actually looking like I'm wearing an old bridesmaid's dress.